Hello, my name is Ryan Oates. Welcome to a series on the 2025 Lowell City Council elections. Here today with Marcos Candido. Marcos, welcome.
Hey, Ryan. Thank you for having me here. I'm glad to be speaking.
No, thank you for coming. So you are running for the District 8 position. That's right.
Yeah, for the Upper Highlands.
The Highlands, Upper Highlands.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Great. So there is an incumbent, which is John Dakota. We'll get to him in a moment. We'll talk about him, but I wanted to start just with you. So could you, for folks who aren't familiar, what is the Marcos Candido backstory?
Oh, wow. Okay. Big question. Okay, yeah. So the Marcos Candido backstory, I was born and raised in this city. I started off in like the South Lowell area, but my family and I mean, when you're poor, you end up moving a lot as the rents go up, finding the next cheapest place. So we've moved in this city like 6-7 times. So I was started in South Lowell, moved around a bunch, ended up in the Highlands when I was in like 6th, 7th grade. And then I was just there. I've been there, still there now. Went through our public school system, graduated Lowell High School. After that, I went off to Baltimore. I went to Johns Hopkins University. I was fortunate enough to go on a full ride. That's like the only thing that's ever come out of being like the good thing that's come out of being poor is like a rich school be able to pay your tuition. So I was there, and then after that, got my degree in neuroscience, and then I studied addiction at the National Institutes of Health for 2 years. While there, I got published, and then I was also a big part of the unionization effort alongside the UAW for our federal researchers. About 5,000 of us. We were successful in that unionization effort. It was the largest union organization to form in over 10 years at the federal level. So I was like really proud of that experience, especially because the organizing effort where I was in my institute was a lot harder because we're detached. We were in Baltimore and not in like the main Bethesda campus. So that was cool. And then, I've moved back and, just back home, and I've always been keeping track of stuff like, Lowell's home. So I just keep track with some of the news and lots of things that were going through the city hall that just weren't sitting right with me. And the continual passing of things that are just not improving a lot of people's lives. Just kept annoying me, kept irking me, and like lots of conversations happened, and it all sort of came together. And I was like, I'm young, but I've had some experience in organizing people, and I think the platform I would run on, I think it's enticing to like working class people who actually want something to change in their city. So that's sort of the story of being born and raised in Lowell, and then eventually coming back and want to make some change. And now I'm running for city council. But
Yeah, so
bit long-winded, sorry.
No, that's great. So yeah, you talked about coming back.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience to this when I went kind of back to my hometown after college, and like you see things maybe from a new perspective, and you're thinking like, we can do better than this. I'm curious. When you think about what we can do better, what is your platform?
Yeah. Oh. What can't we do better? I think there's a lot we can do better on them. But I've built, my platform is, in a way, essentially trying to tackle the main factors to our cost of living crisis. So, housing reform in our city so that we can, make building affordable housing, make building housing in general cheaper and more efficient. And so then that way we can also build more affordable housing. And then there's a lot of things that go down the line. I won't go crazy talking about that. And then public transit is a big thing. I mean, as a person too, I kind of hate cars, hate being in traffic, driving to the grocery store and then to somewhere else and then being trafficked the whole time. It takes so much time of your day. And I deep down don't believe anyone actually loves using their car as much as they do. I just don't think people have faith in a good public transit system. So I'd love to improve our public transit system. And lastly, a big thing for me is education. It's childcare. These are super critical to making outstanding citizens and also extremely expensive, especially when you start talking about childcare in Massachusetts. So I think these are things our city can improve our assistance in, our support in to, like I said, tackle the cost of living crisis a lot of working families are, struggling with right now. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's my platform.
Nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned the cost of living crisis, which I think is just such a salient thing right now with inflation and also just the housing market. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Before doing like a deep dive with any of those specific categories, I just wanted to get a sense of how you, I mentioned there's an incumbent, John Dakota. So how are you differentiating yourself from the incumbent?
That's in a lot of ways. Really, I think, I like I said in actually my first like interview, I think I'm sort of the complete antithesis to sort of what John Dakota sort of stands for, or what he's done in our city. If you look at the Sun article of when he first ran, and this is his first term, but he has spent 2 years showing people that, in my opinion, that we need change. And so anyway, so in his first Sun article, they talk about how he was running on ending homelessness, that he understood the homelessness crisis. And it's actually on his website. It's the second thing, his second priority. And, he voted for chasing homeless people around with our cop force, which is, it's a waste of money and it's not doing anything. It's immoral. And it was only legally allowed after the Supreme Court allowed it, the corrupt Supreme Court. So, doing that, voting against the housing production plan, like, a lot of things like that, not really accessible to community members, except, a few that actually know him, not really transparent about his platform. I mean, his website just came up, and I think that was because me and Maldonado had one, and I think it kind of forced him a little, which is a good thing. I mean, that was sort of the plan, but, in a lot of ways, I think I'm pretty different from John Dakota, and I, plan to be a different counselor as well.
So you mentioned this idea of the website being in response to you and Maldonado.
Yeah.
I was looking at the results from the preliminary election, and I think, with all due respect, I don't think many people were expecting you to come in at the top vote getter.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't.
And so, like, how are you interpreting that?
Yeah, I mean, simply put, I think people just want change. I think, like, that's what motivates people to go out to vote. A lot of things, a lot of people are always talking about, like, the need to vote, the need to vote, the need to vote. And I think these are all it's true. We should spend some time telling people that it's worth going out to vote. But I think also people need something to actually vote for. I think they want an option that is worth it for them to, like, go out in the morning before work, or, and come back or go vote after work. I think, it is an effort to go vote, and it's tough to get people to do things, and you got to give them something, a reason to go do that, whatever thing. So in this case, voting. So just trying to build a strong platform that would really, wake people up, activate people who haven't voted in a long time, or people who are typically dejected or just not interested in voting, trying to really rally people. And I think I was not expecting that either. I mean, Inside Lowell sort of spent like 5 minutes talking about the race, and I was finally mentioned at like the 4th minute, sort of, and I don't blame them. I mean, a lot of people, I'm a new face, whatever, a lot of reasons why. I also thought if I was going to even get through the preliminary, it was going to be by losing by a large margin, but at least coming in second place. But I think the win just signals to me and to others that, like, people are ready for change. And I think it was shown throughout all the races, really, with the incumbents not coming in first place in any of the other races, the other preliminary races. So I just think people are ready for change and want change. And yeah, I think that's what that signals.
I would agree that this felt like a change election. We have a lot of change on the horizon with the Link project coming up. We've got Frontrunner City. I know there's going to be a pretty big announcement about that coming up soon.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Yeah. I saw Mayor Rourke talk about that on Inside Lowell.
Like I said, in a couple of weeks, it should be some exciting times.
All right, so you're previewing an announcement of some sort at UEF.
The overall goal is to announce the first area of Lowell that we're going to work on in regards to Frontrunner City status.
I guess what I'll say, there's a lot of change and development coming. And that can be a really good thing. It can be. It can be a way to bring like high paying jobs to the city. But the question I always kind of come to is, how do we have inclusive prosperity? Like, how do we make sure that everybody is benefiting from that change? And that's part of the reason I was really interested in your platform, which is one of those things that I think would build inclusive prosperity, is more affordable childcare. I wonder if you could speak to like what you think we should do regarding childcare.
Yeah. Well, childcare is in Massachusetts, I think Massachusetts is the most expensive state to raise a kid in. And people don't really realize, I mean, people have long lives and, all this, and people don't understand that the first like 3, 4, 5 years of a kid's life are so hypercritical to their long-term health, to their long-term neurodevelopment, to literally like so much. And so it's super important that kids receive like the proper education, the proper care, the proper nutrition, like all of these things. And that's important for every stage of life, but it's really critical for when you're a young kid, when your brain is like, you're still growing, everything isn't fully formed. So, and in Massachusetts, I think before I go into a little bit, I think it's especially important and a little bit easier now because our government, our state government, in the last like 2-3 years has sort of made a promise to make childcare or pre-K like free across the state. And so I think we need to be sort of jumping on that opportunity to sort of expand childcare in our city. So I think one way is just to, first of all, with multi-use zoning, allowing more different spaces and different areas in our city, such as childcare spaces, because one of the problems is, although childcare or pre-K is going to be free, there's just not enough spaces. There's a lot of waitlisted people in our city. Trying to improve hours for childcare people. There's so much to say. When people who do childcare, they get paid so little. So it's a tough field to get people into, and it's critical, but people don't go into it because the pay is so abysmal. So really trying to help out with that where we can. 50% of our families, CTI did a survey, so there's probably a slight bias in who's answering this survey, but of their survey, like 50% of the people who are WIC eligible weren't signed up to have WIC. So we have a big problem where a lot of families just don't even have the support that would help them, be able to save money or have money for childcare. So that's a cost-effective way of trying to improve childcare, is by getting them the support they need for other things so that they have money left over for childcare. There's so much that we can do. I think, my stepdad had a kid a couple years ago, but now she's starting pre-K, and the pre-K hours are like 9 to 12, which is like the point of a good pre-K or a good childcare is like, you have free time to do something else outside of taking care of your kid full time. You have time to get a job and be productive. But when you're in pre-K from 9 to 12, you can't get a job. 12 o'clock you're still at work, and it's like, what can you do? So there's a lot of things that I think our city can be doing to improving our childcare and making it a lot better for our residents in our city. Yeah. Probably confusing. There's so much. There's a lot of angles to try to attack and improve childcare, but I think I would at least like our city council to be doing any of these steps.
Or even like publicly, they could pass a motion, encouraging the state reps to endorse certain things, bills to support.
Yeah,
childcare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Part of that's a really good point, is like part of some of our problems are bigger than Lowell. So, having a city council that pushes our state reps to doing the right things is really critical to a big to improving Lowell. So that's why it's funny. Some people have told me, run for state rep. Why are you running on this platform at the city level? It's like, first of all, our city can do these things, but also what good is a progressive state representative if, you have a city council that does everything in its power to stop anything good from happening, or preempting anything good from happening. So,
I have no idea what you're talking about there.
Yeah. Yes. But you bring up a great point where, I think our city council has, beyond the things that it does directly for Lowell, it's a platform to push for things that can end up helping Lowell in the long run. So, yeah.
One of the issues that I think about, because what you said about childhood development, as a middle school teacher, like I see firsthand. I've worked in Lawrence. I've worked in Lexington. I've worked in Lowell, summer school in Lowell. Yeah. And you can see how economic inequality impacts kids, and how having just basic things like childcare and preschool can pay off dividends, right? Preschool and childcare can cut crime rates,
Yes.
it's a public safety measure, essentially.
These things pay off in the long run. They pay off in the long run. And actually, one thing I should have said, and I think maybe, well, you don't work right now in the Lowell public school system, but I was just talking to a friend who's a paraprofessional, and because of the budget cut we just did to our public schools this year, he was telling me about, among a bunch of things, they pushed back some of their after school programs, which I think either they start right away typically or like 2 weeks into the school year, and they push them back like 5-6 weeks to like the end or just after October begins. So it's like, and that's part of childcare, is the after school program that, I was raised in an after school program. A lot of parents, if not, well, everyone really works till 5 or after. And it's like, where's your kid going to go for these 3-4 hours after school? And that's a lot of money trying to come up with a private place, or, or your kid just ends up not, being productive, or is in the wrong place, or is just at home, not really getting the help they need for whatever. So it's critical that we fund these sorts of things. But yeah. Sorry, I might have detracted you, but
No, well, okay, you mentioned, and just if people aren't familiar, this spring, when the during the budget conversation, there was kind of a big, it was like a whole news cycle basically for about a week there, because kind of unexpectedly, the budget proposed by the city manager, Tom Golden, was $4 million. Sorry, $4 million. A
couple more zeros.
Yeah, $4 million less than the previous year. Is that right? Yeah. And it was kind of like what Liam Skinner called the 11th hour.
When we went into budgeting this year at the central office, we began with a very conservative start. And we anticipated, what if the city continues to give us just 22%? That, by the way, would come to $14.9 million in city cash. We had $14 million last year. The budget before you tonight does not give $14.9 million, which I would argue is not meeting our values in Lowell and what we believe in and what's practical for our city. It didn't give the $14 million that was given last year. It's proposing to give us $10 million.
Like it was, they had budgeted expecting those $4 million. It was less than the state recommended.
Yes.
And so, I don't know, what do you think the city council could have done or should have done differently in that situation?
I think everyone should have just rejected the city. I mean, it's like a union bargaining thing. Like, you're sort of the reps of the, of your district, of the people of Lowell, and here comes, the company that hands you a poor contract. I think you say no, and you say rewrite that contract. This is crazy. So, and that's sort of why I think we need a strong mayor that's electable. I think someone who's, not really accountable to the people, who's passing forth a budget that literally is just slashing $4 million from the school budget. And mind you, we have the money. Our budget went up. So it's like, how is our budget going up? How is that our property taxes are going up, but we're cutting $4 million from the school? It's crazy. I think the city council should have said no. And at the very least advocated to make sure that that the schools were funded at the levels that they requested, and like you said, that was still budgeted conservatively. If to remain at the standard, they wanted $15 million, but understanding that we're in a tight budget or whatever, they were going to request 14 million which was what they were getting last year. And even then we brought them down to 10 million, which, like you said, is, or maybe you mentioned it, or not, it's now under some of the state's standards for the contributions that a city makes towards its public school system, which is, it's ridiculous. And it's in line what our city council has been doing for the last, couple of years, 10, 15 plus years, is consistently gutting our public school system. And so I think it's crazy. Our city councilors should have said no and should have demanded that be, filled. We have the money. We know where that money went, and it's not anywhere better than the public school system. And they should have said no and demanded that it be fulfilled. But yeah,
it's another one of those examples of like the safety net, right? The social safety net, that when it seems like a silly thing to even have to say, when you fund the schools well, people will be able to have those jobs that are created by the frontrunner city and et cetera, right?
Yeah, it's like, it's backwards thinking. It's like reactionary. Like, you have all this cool stuff coming, these high paying jobs, but it's like, for who? Like, if you're not educating your kids, who is this job for? Like, so yeah, I mean, it's a frustrating thing to see for sure. Especially as someone who loves the public school system. So yeah.
Okay. So I think we hit education pretty well. The next area, this is a big part of your platform, is housing. So I'll just ask it as general as I can. In your perspective, what are the major problems with Lowell's housing market, and what should we be doing about it?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. I'll say we need to pass the housing production plan. I think a lot of people, are just like, we can't build housing because it's too expensive. And then here comes this bill that is like, first of all, it doesn't even change any laws. It's sort of just the city council adopting, it's like a resolution. Like, we as the city will begin trying to do some of these things so that we can help alleviate the housing crisis. And some of those things were like zoning changes, changes to like the building code, changes, it's this comprehensive way to reduce the cost of building housing and to also make it more, make the process of building and passing these things, passing housing, like, more efficient, which is extremely important in a city that is falling behind, or not even falling, is extremely behind on the sort of housing targets it needs to hit. And a lot of counselors are running on like just saying numbers, like, our cities, we're building this, and they'll name drop an address and be like 37 units are being built.
But I know that we need housing in the city, but I think that we have quite a bit. 230, which is part 230, which is part of 218, 16 Pearl Street. There's 37 market rate units. 484 Market Street, 17 units. Mass Mills, Phase 4, Suffolk Place, 33 units. Lowell Housing Authority, Merrimack Development, 118 new units. HDIP tax credits were awarded to 2 projects. Hildreth Building, 50 units at a cost of 2.5.
That is time. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And first of all, with all of that accounted for, it's not that much. It just sounds like a lot of words, and they're all market rate. Like, most of them are market rate. So the housing that is being built in our city, very little of it is actually accessible to the people of Lowell. If you look at the budget, it says, it highlights the income, and we have a massive, Lowell's it's a poor city, and 20% of our households can't even afford a $700 rent. And I was just talking to a friend who lives in an apartment complex, and they're raising the 2-bedroom rate to $2,500 a month. Speechless, right? Like, I don't even know. It's sort of insane. So we have a massive housing crisis. So the housing production plan is big to sort of try to reduce the costs. I think our city council should be 100% on board with rent control, pushing that at the state legislature level, so that when it does pass on the ballots, that our city can take full control of that, or full advantage of the situation to really help our working class families. Like, they're literally struggling. Our homelessness crisis is rapidly increasing. So we need to be doing everything in our power to make sure people can stay under a roof. And I also think, zoning changes. Zoning changes, passing the housing production plan, rent control, social housing. We have a housing trust fund. I think we should be, if we're raising our budget, these are things that should be prioritized so we can get people into homes. There's a lot to be said, so I don't want to speak like for an hour on it. So
I'll just say, I wrote a Substack about the housing production plan. I read it very closely. Mm-hmm. When I think about housing, mm-hmm. I usually use there's a lot of lens you can use to look at it, but one lens I just look at is supply and demand, very simply. And I was looking through, because, I've heard arguments about, some people in the city just want to build no matter what, and like they just want more and like for no reason. And I just want to be clear about like why I think it's a good idea for us to build more. Is that, when you have very little supply of something and you have a lot of demand for that thing, the price goes up. Right?
The price goes up, yep.
And looking at, I've pulled some data from, this is community teamwork and the housing production plan, looking at over time. Mm-hmm. So basically one of the metrics that they'll use to measure supply and demand, as you likely know, is a vacancy rate, right? Mm. So how of the housing
vacancy rate,
super low.
We have a low vacancy rate. That's the thing.
Yeah,
we don't have enough abandoned buildings and vacant units to just be like, let's fix these up, housing crisis over.
Yeah, so it's like you would expect. So from what I've read, like a healthy rental vacancy rate is about 7.4%. That's like somewhere around there.
What are we at? Like
5 to 8.
3.
It's 3.7, which is about half is what it should be.
Yeah.
For ownership, it's about 1.5 supposedly. I've referenced a few different experts. I'm not an expert, but that's what I've seen. Mm-hmm. Ours is 0.9, which is also low. Yeah. It's not half exactly, but it's almost half. Mm-hmm. And so, and those are from Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, just to cite my source. But in Lowell, like I said, it's 3.7 right now, and it's been going down, right? So 2010, according to Community Teamwork Initiative, it was 8%. Mm-hmm. 2018, it was 5%. Mm-hmm. Now in 2020, it was 3.7. So like, I think we need to be doing things.
We're like stuffing these buildings. And the thing is, sometimes what people aren't realizing too is that like the situation is a lot worse than you think, because outside of the homelessness crisis, it's like how many people are stuck in a home that they're trying to leave. There's so much to consider about why you need to build housing. That's sort of the ADU thing, was like, my kid lives in my house, is dating his girlfriend. They have a kid. They're trying to do, they're trying to start a family in my basement. I'd like an ADU for them. And it's like, no ADU. And it's like, there's so many people. It's in the housing plan, production plan too. They talk about how, a lot of our units are overcrowded. So that's another reason why we need housing. I mean, you bring up so many good points. Like we just need to be building. And if we're not, it's way worse. The cost of not doing this right now is going to just increase year over year over year. It's terrible. And, people will talk about, well, we need to preserve the character of our neighborhood. And I don't even think people really understand what that means, or, the character of our neighborhoods right now is what's destroying our communities. Preserving the way it looks right now is exactly why your kid cannot afford to live in the city and is having to leave. There are so many neighbors I've come across who will come out and talk, and they'll just be like, yep, that house, whole family has left, too expensive in the city. That house, their kids have left, they don't have anywhere to go. That house, just watching, families just watching the blight sort of come in slowly, because things are out of control and there's just not enough, like you said, supply and demand. The demand is extremely high and the supply is extremely low. And And we don't have enough vacant units, and it's not a problem with just finding the right house in Lowell. It's just we do not have enough, and so people are leaving, and our city is going to struggle because of that. And so, yeah, we need to be doing everything we can to be unlocking building and having the city step in and also try to build some affordable housing opportunities for people, because otherwise, it's just, I mean, we've seen what happens to other cities when like you just enter this like slow, terrible decline that, we can begin to solve. The housing crisis is big. The city of Lowell can't just eliminate it. But it has to do something, like fight back, do something. So yeah, that's how I really think about the housing situation here.
Yeah, one of the critiques that I often hear of people who are advocating for changes in zoning, allowing more multifamily units, or people advocating for more affordable housing in Lowell. One of the critiques I often hear is that, Lowell is doing its part. Everyone around us should be doing more. I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I just don't buy it. First of all, Lowell isn't doing its part. Actually, I was really grateful. Someone, like a constituent, I'll say, kind of a weird thing to say. I mean, this is like an older person, and they're a constituent. I'm running for politics, or for a seat, and they emailed me I forget what was the source. I'm forgetting some of the names now, but they emailed me a report on sort of the gateway cities and how they're doing on their housing production, like, compared to their targets, yada, yada, yada. Lowell is not doing its part. That's it. Like, Lowell is not doing as much as it can to fulfill its housing requirements so that it can keep up with, as we were talking about supply and demand, to keep up with demand, or to keep up, build enough supply to keep up with demand. So that's just not even true. But also, outside of that, I think it's a great privilege to be able to take care of people outside of your city. And people, I think it's so, like, insane to me to hear counselors just rush to being like, we're done doing the work. Let the other cities do it. And it's also like, from a practical perspective, doesn't make sense. Like, we're a city of 100,000. What is Chelmsford, the city of 30,000, going to do for Lowell? Like, they can do a little bit, and they should. I think every city should definitely be doing more with the housing situation, of course. But that doesn't mean for us to stop or to slow down. I think, if anything, that means we should speed up. This is a competition. If we can outbuild them, if we can build enough housing where the smartest Lowell, the smartest like Chelmsford person or the smartest Drake person decides to move to Lowell, that helps Lowell. And I think that's a good thing. So there's so many ways to sort of push back against this statement that we're doing too much. Like, A, we're not, and B, I think it's a good thing if we are doing too much, because it will help Lowell in the long run. So yeah, that's sort of what I think about that statement, or that sort of, that idea.
Yeah. My initial reaction is always like, you guys are totally wrong. But then, but I do, when I look at the data, like, we do have higher affordable housing rates compared to the region.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I do think that we should be advocating at the state level for the other, cities to have more. But I think that doesn't mean that we're done,
Yeah, no, yes, exactly. Like, of course, Chelmsford needs to do more. Of course, Drake needs to do more. I mean, you think Lowell's like, the thing is, though, you tell Drake to do more, they're going to say the same things the people in the suburbs are saying. We're full. Everyone thinks they're full. You're not full. Your city is not full, especially, though, like Chelmsford and Drake. But like you said, like, we are doing better than other cities, but also I don't think that's a reason for us to slow down. I think it's just a great opportunity to grow our city. It's a great way to be able to not have to raise everyone's property taxes if we have more people to share in that burden, yada, yada, yada. Housing is a win-win-win-win-win thing. And every time you don't build enough, your city just takes a step down towards a dark place. So, yeah.
The last thing on your platform is public transit. What do you think we should be doing? I mean, I know the city council itself does not, have jurisdiction over the LRTA. But, what do you think the council should be doing about public transit?
increasing its partnership with the LRTA, like working with the other, all the, towns and cities that are under the LRTA sort of jurisdiction. I think we need to all come together and improve our public transit. And especially since Lowell is probably the biggest, city that's a part of this jurisdiction, I think we should use that as a leverage to try to improve the public transportation, not only in Lowell, but in the entire area. To boil it down, I mean, better public transportation is just a win, like in a million ways. It irks me a little that in the year of 2025, I have to spend so much time being like, actually, buses are better than cars. Biking is actually, better than cars, guys. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, so there's so much to say. Like, if you, so yeah. All right. I think increasing our partnership with the LRTA is super important.
Yeah.
Super important.
And I know a while back, Councillor Wayne Janess and Councillor Kim Scott put forth a motion to write a letter to the LRTA encouraging them to increase frequency and also the service hours, which
important.
Is that, are those things you support?
Yes, it's so important. I mean, actually yesterday I was like, I'm trying to go to the gym right now, but I don't have any cars to use and no buses. And it was like 8:30 and I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. So first, increasing frequency, but increasing it even more. I think, like, I actually live on bus route 5 and I used to take that to school. And that, I think that's one of the busiest routes. And we finally increased that from once an hour. That's crazy. To 30 minutes, which, like 30 minutes is better, but it's nowhere near what it needs to be. In any city that is actually seriously trying to get people to shift, like using cars less into busing, it needs to be at minimum like 15 minutes an hour. That's at that point you start seeing people be like, okay, you know what? Like, I don't have to use my car because it'll come every 15 minutes. But once it's every 30 minutes and especially at an hour, people are like, this is crazy. Like, I can't do this. I just want to go to the grocery store for 5 minutes and I'm going to take this bus and then I'm going to be stranded for a whole hour for another 30 minutes. So increasing frequency, expanding service hours, these are so important and it helps boost your economy. Like, it's so needed. It's so good. And yeah, I'm not gonna, I'll let you.
It's great.
But yeah, I'm super passionate, especially because like these last couple of years I was like in Baltimore just learning, and I had to, when I was moving, busing is so abysmal in Baltimore. I mean, as it is in essentially everywhere but New York. Like, I had to, when I was moving, I had to completely sort of shift where I was able to live, because it was like, well, here's, switching buses, riding one bus is already abysmal. So, I used to live in a place where I had to make a transfer.
Oh, no.
And I was like, geez, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was hell. Like, it was hell. So I was like, I need to find one spot that is like between the two places I go to all the time, like that will take me to the gym and to the grocery store and to work. And, because otherwise, like, I was just stranded because just the busing system was so abysmal. And it's the same thing in Lowell. So many people just sit down and just wait for like 40 minutes for the bus and hope to God it's like on time. And they're not, and they're sitting down on the street, because essentially all of our stops don't even, you wrote about this a little bit, like out of like the 600 stops, like 50 of them or something have like a shelter or a bench. And it's like, the situation for public transit in our city is so abysmal. And we're just talking about busing. Like, don't even get me started on biking or the ability to walk anywhere. Like, yeah, we need to be doing a lot more to improve that.
Another thing, so you mentioned having to transfer, right, from one bus line to a different bus line. Mm-hmm. And I mean, one thing that helps with that is frequency, but another thing is just where the buses go. Mm-hmm. And we have kind of this bizarre map, in my opinion, the way that the map is designed, where it's like a hub and spoke model, where you've got like a central point, but it's not a central point. It's like way down south. It's at the MBTA
Gallagher
train
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Gallagher Center. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Terminal.
so it's like if I wanted to go, I used to live in Pawtuckaville. If I wanted to go to downtown, I would have to go from Pawtuckaville to Gallagher, make a change, and then go to downtown, which is like, it took way
It's
too long.
It's too long. That was it's too long. I know exactly. Yeah, I was just thinking about I was thinking about busing to your place because I was like, let me try. Every time I don't even attempt to bus anymore in this city because I know it's abysmal. But every once in a while, I'm like, let me try. Let me see. And then it's like, yes, I have to go to the Gallagher terminal, and then I have to switch to bus 7. And I'm like, dude, and it takes so long, and the buses aren't lined up. It's ridiculous, and how bad it is exasperated because you know what? Like the Gallagher terminal isn't actually that far from downtown, but you know that overpass area is just totally abysmal, and we spent I don't know how much or whatever millions of dollars to redo it as bad as we did. I think that's crazy. Whoever we hired should be banned from doing anything in terms of urban transportation in our city, but yeah, it's tough. Like you said, like bus efficiency and bus routes and stuff are really important, but also like how it's done. Because if we're going to the Gallagher terminal, like fine, but there should be then at least maybe a constant shuttle to downtown or, you know, better bus lanes or something, because it's like you said, it's crazy because you have to go here and then you've got to wait for the bus that only comes once an hour to come by and then go somewhere else. And it's just defunct. It's just so defunct, and it doesn't work for anyone. You're not the only one. So many people I've talked to have been like, yeah, my daughter tried to go downtown the other day and she had to go to Gallagher and then wait 30 minutes. And then it's like, it's bad. It's bad. But yeah, it's better walking to a place sometimes. It's that bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I feel like, so we kind of hit all your major platform areas. I guess if you were to sum up or like a closing of what you want voters to know, the floor is yours.
Oh yeah. To sum it up, well, I think I think our city needs to go in an extremely different direction. A lot of people are struggling. The cost of living crisis I've talked a lot about it's grinding people down to dust. And like I said, we need to be going in a completely different direction. We need city councilors who, see their position as the sort of sacred position that it is. Like, people have taken the time to be like, you are the person that I want fighting for me. And our councilors aren't putting up a fight. They're not really fighting for the working class people of our city. And that's what I want to do. I think, I've come from a working class background. I've done some union organizing, and it's like, I just want to bring that energy into our city council to really fight for the things that will proven things by, these are things that, I'm not trying to experiment with our city. I'm trying to bring things that we know will help uplift our working class families. And I think, that's what I would love to do. And that's why I'm really running for this race. So, yeah. And it was a great pleasure to talk to you. I think, hopefully I wasn't long-winded about some answers. I can just run on days, about these different things, but thank you so much for bringing me over. I love to, I love talking about these things. So thank you.
Yeah, it was great to hear kind of how your mind works, how you think about things, and
a bit chaotic maybe.
So, Marcos Candido running for District 8 for Lowell City Council. The election is November 4th, right?
Yep. Tuesday, November 4th. I will, much like the preliminary election day, probably be running like 16 miles that day, getting people out to vote. But Tuesday, November 4th is the day. And I'm hoping we can shake some things up in this city. So, yeah.
Marcos, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you, Ryan. It was good to see you.